Welcome. I'm back with another reading, another chapter reading from Stolen Legacy. The author is George G.M. James. For those that has been viewing, that has been keeping up, what do you think so far? You know what I mean? If there's some streamers, some viewers that has read Stolen Legacy before, you know, if you really remember the book, or you're still familiar with the book, you can see some things been changed, right? You got what I'm saying? Like, I'm not seeing the images of the money, the monument. I'm not seeing any of that stuff in here, and I'm hoping that they get to talking about it, like it was in the other book. But let's get into chapter 4, part B, which part B title is The Genesis of Greek Enlightenment. The Persian invasion did not only provide the Greeks with ample research, but stimulated the creation of prose history in Ionia. Heretofore, the Greeks had little or no accurate knowledge of Egyptian culture, but their contact with Egypt resulted in the genesis of their enlightenment. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go on to C. That was chapter 4, part 1B. But I'm gonna go into C also and finish up, part 1. C. Students from Ionia and the islands of the Aegean visit Egypt for their education. You get that? Visit Egypt for education. Just as in our modern times, countries like the United States, England, and France are attracting students from all parts of the world on account of their leadership and culture, so was it in ancient times. Egypt was supreme in the leadership of civilization, and students from all parts flocked to that land, seeking admission into her mysteries or wisdom system. The immigration of Greeks to Egypt for the purpose of their education began as a result of the Persian invasion and continued until the Greeks gained possession of the land and access to the royal library through the conquest of Alexander the Great. Alexandria was converted into a Greek city, a center of research, and the capital of the newly created Greek Empire under the rule of Ptolemies. Egyptian culture survived and flourished under the name and control of the Greeks until the edict of Theodosius in the 4th century AD and that of Justinian in the 6th century AD, which closed the mystery temples and schools as elsewhere mentioned. Now remember, we talked about this culture, this spirituality being banned. You got what I'm saying? Here you go. You know what I mean? After they went in, got all the education they could get out of it, they closed it off to the world. You feel what I'm saying? So if they closed it off to the world, and there are talks about how King James rewrote the Baptist Christian Bible, how Islam came into the world, how Judaism came into the world, how all these other different religions and spiritualities came into the world. You got what I'm saying? You had to shut down the tree, you know what I mean, the root. You had to close off the root, hide the root until you could what? Till you could what? Get everything lined up, right? Get everything lined up. And remember what I said. There's some truth in everything we are reading. There's some BS in everything we are reading. But another culture, you got me? Another culture, another continent needs my homeland, my, continent to back their history. The same way Africa need these other continents to back African history. You got what I'm saying? Concerning the fact that Egypt was the greatest education center of the ancient world, which was also visited by the Greeks, reference must again be made to Plato in the Timaeus, who tells us that Greek aspirants to wisdom visit Egypt for initiation, and that the priests of Sais used to refer to them as children in the mysteries. As regards the visit of Greek students to Egypt for the purpose of their education, the following are mentioned simply to establish the fact that Egypt was regarded as the educational center of the ancient world, and that, like the Jews, the Greeks also visit Egypt and receive their education. Did you hear that? Just like the Jews, the Greeks also visit Egypt and receive their education. Now, I will say this, and I'm kind of leaning toward being a firm believer, standing in the fact that, there was a time that I believe Jews had the throne in Kemet. You got what I'm saying? I know we have mixed with Jews. I know that. You got what I'm saying? But my point that I'm really trying to make is this right here. If you ever heard that Upper Africa, Upper Ancient Egypt, Upper, Northern Africa, that's where the Jews was, and the Africans, the black Africans was down in the bottom of Africa, you're wrong. You understand what I'm saying? You're wrong. The Jews come from out that Middle East. You feel what I'm saying? Somewhere along the line, a Jewish culture was probably came about. You got what I'm saying? The mixing of the races, and being that Abraham had a child by an Egyptian, a Kemite, an ancient Kemite, an ancient Egyptian. You got what I'm saying? You feel me? That tells me right there. You know what I mean? They was mixing the blood, mixing the cultures even back then. You feel me? You get it? As regards the visit of Greek students to Egypt for the purpose of their education, the following are mentioned simply to establish the fact that Egypt was regarded as the educational center of the ancient world, and that, like the Jews, the Greeks also visit Egypt and receive their education. It is said that during the reign of Ahmosis, Thales, who is said to have been born about 585 BC, visited Egypt and was initiated by the Egyptian priests into the mystery system and science of the Egyptians. Now that tells you right there, we wasn't stingy in our knowledge. That tells you right there, if you came to us the right way, we shared our wisdom with you. We are also told that during his residence in Egypt, he learned astronomy, land surveying, mensuration, engineering, and Egyptian theology. See, Thales in Black Whale's source book of philosophy. Now, this is a part 2 to the C. You got what I'm saying? I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna keep reading until I'm finished. You know what I mean? I'll be finishing up in a minute, but let's get into this. You know what I mean? It is said that Pythagoras, a native of Samos, traveled frequently to Egypt for the purpose of his education. Like every aspirant, he had to secure the consent and favor of the priest. And we are informed by Diogenes that a friendship existed between Polycrates of Samos and Ahmosis, king of Egypt. The Polycrates gave Pythagoras letters of introduction to the king, who secured for him an introduction to the priest. first to the priest of Heliopolis, then to the priest of Memphis, and lastly to the priest of Thebes, to each of whom Pythagoras gave a silver goblet. We are also further informed through Herodotus, Jablonsk, and Pliny that after severe trials, including circumcision, had been imposed upon him by the Egyptian priests, he was finally initiated into all their secrets. That he learned the doctrine of metempsychosis, of which there was no trace before in Greek religion. That his knowledge of medicine and strict system of dietetic rules distinguished him as a product of Egypt, where medicine had attained its highest perfection, and that his attainments in the geometry corresponded with the ascertained fact that Egypt was the birthplace of that science. In addition, we have the statements of Plutarch, Demetrius, and Antisthenes that Pythagoras founded the science of mathematics amongst the Greeks, and that he sacrificed to the Muses when the priests explained to him the properties of the right angled triangle. Pythagoras was also trained in music by the Egyptian priests. According to Diogenes Laertius and Herodotus, Democritus is said to have been born about 400 BC and to have been a native of Abdera in Miletus. We are also told by Demetrius in his treatise on people of the same name, and by Antisthenes in his treatise on succession, that Democritus traveled to Egypt for the purpose of his education and received the instruction of the priests. We also learn from Diogenes and Herodotus that he spent 5 years under the instruction of the Egyptian priests, and that after the completion of his education, he wrote a treatise on the sacred characters of Miro. In this respect, we further learn from Origen that circumcision was compulsory, and one of the necessary conditions of initiation to a knowledge of the hieroglyphs and sciences of the Egyptians, and it is obvious that Democritus, in order to obtain such knowledge, must have submitted also to that right. Origen, who was a native of Egypt, wrote as follows: Apud Egyptus nullus art geometrica studibat art astronomy secreta remomotor nisi circumcision. And that's not the end, but I just want to say this, you know what I mean? We're not far from the end, but I just want to say this, you know what I mean? I explained to you we're master builders. I explained to you that we forged a civilization when everyone was savages. You got what I'm saying? You feel me? You get it? We forged a civilization when everyone else on this rock was savages. You get me? We was forward thinkers. You understand me? So to be a part of a race that is brilliant, intelligent, geniuses, master builders, and the only thing that we could provide, and I'm going to say this to you again, the only thing we could provide and feel that we're good at is what? Selling drugs, using drugs, shooting, robbing, killing, everything that is illegal on this soil. It may not be illegal in your mind because you don't see it that way, but there are laws. Yeah, man-made laws. There are man-made laws that govern this land. You're in this land, you're living in this land, so abide by their rules. You feel me? Abide by their rules. I say this to you like my mom told me. You don't want these people to get their hands on you because it's hard to get their hands off of you. And it is. It really is. They be in your business 100% and they try to hold you on probation, on parole as long as they can. You feel me? You get it? So it's best to, not even get involved on the other side of the law. Stay on the positive side of the law. Don't get a case. Don't even bring a felony on your record. You know what I mean? These little misdemeanors, you can bounce around with them. You got what I'm saying? But a felony will crush your world. You feel me? With regards to Socrates and Aristotle and the majority of pre-Socratic philosophers, history seems to be silent on the question of their traveling to Egypt, like a few other students here mentioned. For the purpose of their education, it is enough to say that in this case, the exceptions have proved the rule that all students who had the means went to Egypt to complete their education. The fact that history fails to supply a fuller account of this type of immigration might be due to some or all of the following reasons. The immigration laws against the Greeks up to the time of King Amasis and the Persian invasion, prose history was undeveloped among the Greeks during the period of their educational immigration to Egypt. The Greek authorities persecuted and drove students of philosophy into hiding, and consequently, students of the mystery system concealed their movements. Let us remember that Anaxagoras was indicted and imprisoned, that he escaped and fled to his home in Ionia, that Socrates was indicted, imprisoned, and condemned to death, and that both Plato and Aristotle fled from Athens under great suspicion. Now, that backs what I was saying, right? You got what I'm saying? That this was outlawed. You know what I mean? This was banging. This was never to be talked about. This was never to be taught. This was never to be brought into the light. But see, when these archaeologists found all this treasure, all this gold, all these diamonds, these rubies, all these secrets, they had to tell the world. So with telling the world, you had to do what? Lift the ban on this culture. Lift the outlawment on this culture. You get it? Because you couldn't keep that a secret. It was too big to keep a secret. You get it? I say this to you, you know what I mean? If you don't understand the way of the world, something's wrong. You know what I mean? People live off the fact that if I can gain something from you, then I will give you what you want. You feel what I'm saying? If I can gain something from you, then I will give you what you want. They didn't want this to be where that there's books around talking about it. They didn't want that. Do you know what this does to the black community? Do you know what this does to a young woman or a young man of the black community that's trying to find themselves, that's trying to find out who their ancestors are? And when you really realize how brilliant, how intelligent we are as a race, as a community, you can't tell a young black person nothing. You can't tell them nothing. Their self-esteem shoots through the roof. You feel what I'm saying? Because when you know who you are, you know what you can achieve in this world. Man, if you ain't got no red tape on you, you ain't got no barriers upon you, no felonies on your record, sky's the limit. You got what I'm saying? It's the limit. And the reason I keep bringing up the fact that you're not having felonies on your record is the fact of this right here. And don't get me wrong, because I was a felony working at a bank. You feel what I'm saying? That would never happen in Virginia. It happened in North Carolina, and I told these people about my felony because they was willing to give a person a chance. You feel what I'm saying? It's something different here in Virginia. You feel me? You get it? So what I'm basically really saying to you is this right here. Do not hinder your life. You feel what I'm saying? Do not. If you don't have a felony on your record, sky's the limit for you. They can't hold you back. You feel what I'm saying? My felonies are 20-some years old. It's a lot that they can't hold me back from anymore. You got what I'm saying? If they were to do an extensive, if it's not a federal background check, my charges probably will never even come up. if it's a state or a city job, you got what I'm saying, will never come up. You feel me? Anywho, anyways, once again, I am the Nasty Pastor. Please go to my YouTube channel, Only Faith Ministries, Kemet Edition. Subscribe, like, share, comment. And look, understand this, man, you know what I mean? You're of the black community. The black community is divided, but you're of the black community. You feel me? Figure who think, walk, and talk like you. You got me? Build your community within the black community so that you and your congregation can grow, could better the black community, can erase some of the stigmas that's in the black community. You got me? I can't do this by myself. When I was your age, the leaders that was in the street trying to teach education and knowledge to people couldn't do it by themselves. I say this though, you know, and I live off this. If you could save one person, then you have saved 1 million lives. Because see, that one person can go on and save another person, and that other person can go on and save another person. It could be a domino effect. But you gotta plant the seed in the right person. I'm out, and I love you.